Welcome to Expert Opinion, the branding business forum where leaders share their views, insights, and experiences from the world of B2B branding. And now, here's your host.
Good afternoon. This is Andrea Fabri. I'm the Director of Strategy for Branding Business, and I'm here today with Andy Frawley, who wrote a very interesting book called Igniting Customer Connections. Andy, how are you?
I'm very good, thank you.
I'm quite delighted that you've decided to spend the next 20-25 minutes with us. I would like to start this conversation with three statistics that really caught my attention in your book. And the statistics are the following. 90% of Americans use multiple devices sequentially throughout the day. The second is 81% uses a smartphone and TV simultaneously. And last one, a bit scary, 20% of tablet owners say that they purchase products advertised on TV while watching TV. What's going on, Andy?
Well, I think those statistics are illustrative of two things. One is we live in a multi-device world, and we can probably all argue if we all have attention deficit disorder these days, but people are using the devices simultaneously, but they are using them, in slightly different ways. The other thing that's going on is, the path to purchase or the path to conversion, used to be a very linear thing, and now it's completely nonlinear. People are entering a conversation on one device, buying on another one. They're often doing it, in sort of unusual patterns. They're, looking at one website and buying it on a different website. So it means that, marketing needs to be in the moment, that this is happening, in real time. It's very dynamic. And as a marketer or a CMO, it creates an environment where fundamentally they have to step back and say, is my approach to, designing, executing, and measuring my marketing strategies, is it right in this new world? And that's really why I wrote the book, was that I've been in this industry for 30 years now. Obviously, there's been lots of change in technology and marketing and the internet, but the pace of change over the last really 24 to 36 months is staggering, and I think it's time for a new approach.
Yeah, I would agree with you, and in fact, this new approach is often the focus of conversations that we have with executives of a variety of companies. So let's talk about the approach that you recommend in the book. You obviously are advocate for a different way of creating customer connections and engagement with customers. Can you please talk to those things? Can you describe what is this new model? What is this new engagement model? And why should it work better?
The essence of this new model is sort of two key concepts. One is that, while we're talking today, brands who may be listening to this in the future are having, hundreds of thousands or millions, in some cases of 10 millions of what I call atomic moments of truth. Where they're interacting with a customer, whether it's a consumer or a business, and in that interaction, which again increasingly is happening, in real time on a connected device, they can either create value in their brand or they can destroy value in the brand. They can create value in the customer relationship or they can destroy value in the customer relationship. And, that's happening all the time. The second key concept is, because that's now happening on, more and more powerful devices that allow a much more personalized and richer experience, marketers can think about two concepts together that historically they've thought about separately. Engagement, getting people to engage with the brand, open an email, click, like it on Facebook, whatever those engagement metrics are. But they can also think about how they're experiencing the brand and trying to make an emotional connection. And the emotional connection has historically been something we thought about in mass media. We're going to create these powerful, TV ads that really have people sort of connect with the brand from an aspirational perspective, whatever the case may be. Well, we can now do that on a smartphone, and we can do it in a way that it's hyper-targeted to a consumer. What we've found, and in the book we did proprietary research that proved this thesis, is that if you can move engagement and experience together at the same time, you will create a much more valuable relationship and an aggregate drive, brand and business equity, in a way that is not just incrementally better, but, sort of, in some cases, a step function better.
Definitely, I agree. And technology, I think, today enables, for the first time, to really look at experience and engagement together. And yet, I think that technology is still the barrier, meaning investment in infrastructure that enables customers to truly deliver that unified experience and engagement. What do you see the barriers to the model? What do you think that they are? What do you see companies doing well? Maybe an example would be appropriate to showcase companies that are
Sure.
taking
Well, one of my favorite examples is Walgreens, who's a client that Epsilon works with, and we do a variety of things for them, but we run their loyalty program, Balance Rewards, and the Walgreens, their tagline and their sort of messages, at the intersection of healthy and happy. So within the loyalty program, they have lots of these atomic moments of truth. Obviously, people are in the stores, they're buying stuff, they're getting rewarded, they're going online. And that's all very powerful, but to sort of get the point across, what we think about, one of the ways you can actually earn points in the loyalty program is by uploading your Fitbit data into the program, and you'll actually get loyalty points based on how hard your workout was. So if you think about an environment where you go for a run, you come back, you've got, it's a good run, you have that sort of euphoric experience, you come in, you upload the data, and you get credit, and then when you go back in the store, not only do you have more points, but you're getting coupons and incentives to go buy, health and fitness products that maybe would have been bought, outside of Walgreens other than in any other case. And so, that's the sort of engagement and emotional connection we try to drive. And again, what we see in that case is that it's highly correlated to, brand loyalty.
Yeah, and also what caught my attention in some of the examples that you provide in the book is that brands can also start to think much more broadly about their engagement, not just about their specific products and services, but much more broader than that. The example you just provided being a manifestation of that. So what do you think are the barriers, though, that companies face with regard to adopting this new model? What kind of investments do companies need to make in order for this model to be powerful and effective?
Yeah, well, and I think obviously with everything there's sort of different degrees. One of the exciting things I think about the world we live in today is some of these approaches can be done pretty simply through social media. So social media is a great, equalizer for small businesses versus larger businesses. They can reach lots of people well beyond their geographic footprint, and they can have a very direct interaction with them. So I think there's applications of these ideas across a broad spectrum of company size and capabilities. On the larger end, companies like Walgreens, the challenges are really twofold. There can be technology challenges, although I think increasingly the technology is quite available. One of the complications is that as you have a greater ability to sort of deliver these sort of messages to customers, you have to create a lot more content and a lot more personalized content, and that's sort of a different, often requires a different approach. And there's a chapter in the book that Igniting Customer Connections that speaks to the new age of content. And then, of course, how you measure this, is more complex in multi-channel world. How do you attribute credit and value? And again, through the book and this concept of ROE squared, which is engagement times experience, we try to give a mathematical way to at least understand that as a predictor to increasing brand and business equity.
One of the things that you also contend in your book is when you describe, provide examples, and you talk about the different paradigm, is that good customers are not only your customers. Can you expand on that a little bit?
Well, sure. I mean, I think most businesses' competitors have great customers as well. Part of the challenge here is to give a framework for marketing professionals to think through how they allocate their investment dollars, their marketing budget, in a way that it's spread across, keeping good customers, getting more share from their customers, and then obviously going out and acquiring their competitors' good customers, and maybe not spending as much on a customer that's marginally profitable, and all businesses have those. And so, the backdrop of much of this is also a different way to allocate the marketing budget or the marketing, what I view as marketing investment dollars, in a way that they have the highest probability to return.
You mentioned Walgreens. Is there another company that you would like to mention as an example of one that takes advantage of these atomic moments of truth?
Yeah, another great example is Federal Express. So we work with Federal Express. They market to small and medium-sized businesses using many of our approaches and techniques at Epsilon. And one of the things that we've worked with them on is also a slightly different loyalty construct, where there to the last question, they're at one level their marketing mission is very simple. They need to take share away from UPS and move it to Federal Express. Mm-hmm. Between the two of them, they have the vast majority of the shipping spend, so to speak. And the question is, how do you get small businesses to consolidate that share? So we rolled out an invitation-only loyalty program to try to give some incentives. And as we went through and did some of the research and insights work, we said, well, what's the thing that would really motivate somebody to switch their behavior? Not just to get a little bit of some points that you might redeem for something or a price discount. And as we were going through that exercise, we were actually sitting in a conference room down in Memphis. The walls were covered with NFL, PGA, NASCAR paraphernalia, because they are a major sponsor of all those events. And we said, well, what if we do our segmentation, and one of the major categories that they were targeting was auto parts stores, for example. Mm-hmm. They ship a lot of parts overnight back and forth. What if Joe's Auto Shop in Boston, Massachusetts, could, if they shipped all of their shipping from UPS over to FedEx, we'd give them a chance to get their logo on a NASCAR car in a nationally televised race. That reward has incalculable value to Joe, and in fact, in that case, didn't cost Federal Express anything because they already had the sponsorship. And so again, that's the sort of thing where when somebody's making that decision, when they're online, they can go to FedEx or UPS.com and they say, where am I going to ship the next package through? At that atomic moment of truth, the content we deliver them isn't just sponsorship, it's, NASCAR, it's the piece they're interested in. And, it compelled behavior that generated, honestly, hundreds of millions of dollars of incremental value.
Yeah, and what is the big payoff for the customer? What does the customer get from this ROE square model that it's not getting today?
The end customer or the company doing the marketing?
The end customer.
We think that they get a better experience. We all receive a lot of communications from brands, some passive, some not passive. And, what we find in both our sort of primary research in the area as well as performance of marketing programs is people don't mind getting communicated to as much if the content's relevant, if it's something they're interested in, if it's something that they attach value to. What consumers and small businesses don't like is when they get things that are completely out of the blue that they perceive to be, very invasive. And so the more, it's sort of a building effect, that the better the communications are, the more relevant, the more real time, the more the content's sort of personalized, the more likely people are going to want to receive that and then, open, click, buy. Most consumers like these approaches, what we've found.
Is there sort of 3, 4, 5 steps broadly defined that, companies should think about, as they start to adopt this experience plus engagement model? What are the first 4 or 5 things that companies should do? Maybe there is an evaluation process. Is there a blueprint, in other words, that you can offer?
Yeah, so there is certainly a process that starts with really assessing where the valuable customers are, who the valuable customers are, and what are the places that you can touch them. Everybody has to prioritize. You can't sort of just do all this magically at once. And so, we encourage people to go where the money is. And so that's sort of the first part. And out of that, usually comes a set of desired experiences. What do you want the customer to experience? So in the situation when they're in the store and they have their smartphone, what's the sort of optimal experience that would look like? And we create these customer experience maps, if you will. From there, you can look at that, and if you may need additional technology enablement or whatever the case may be, but again, we try to do that in the context of driving a particular experience that we think is going to drive a business outcome, a sale, whatever the case may be. And then it's really a matter of, starting to deploy communications with a rigorous approach to, test and learn. But with one of the subtle changes, but it's actually quite profound, particularly for larger companies, is many large companies, they sort of plan their whole marketing calendar around a fixed number of large campaigns. And those campaigns, may take weeks or months to plan, and they run for weeks and months, and they take weeks or months to measure, and there's only a certain, 3, 4, 10, 12 of those cycles in a year. The switch in mindset and sort of people process technology is that you may have 1,000 campaigns running all the time. Mm-hmm. And so that's where we would, we at Epsilon sort of work with clients to sort of engineer a set of capabilities that enables that, so they can sort of target customers, generate content, measure what happens, continually improve in an environment where, it really is happening all the time.
Yeah, I really liked and enjoyed the part of your book where you say that the marketing calendar is actually history. I would agree with you. An environment where content is constantly produced and disseminated to customers based on their interests, what is a calendar? So I really enjoyed that part. I think we're close to the end. Is there some sort of final thoughts that you'd like to provide?
We've proven these techniques to be very, very effective. Again, I think what's compelling to me about the book is it's not just a series of anecdotes. We came up with a thesis around engagement experience, and then we proved it with proprietary research. So we fielded research with tens of thousands of data points that basically prove that if you apply these techniques, that you're going to have improved business results. And, we'd obviously love lots of people to read the book and get some value from it.
Excellent. And can you give us your contact information so that our listeners can reach out to you?
The best way to get a hold of me is through the website for the book, which is www.ignitingcustomerconnections.com. Igniting Customer Connections all together. And there's a contact me button on there, and you can ask me questions or give comments, and we'll be sure to get back to you.
Excellent. Thanks again, Andy.